We have finally seen our destination. We're just going to do a couple more switchbacks to get down there. And then there's a little waterfall safety sign, and then we'll take a look to see what the waterfall actually looks like. So looking forward to it.
Ooh, that place is strong. The plate. We have made it to the waterfall safety sign. It's not so much an observation deck like you would think with, you know, planked and a railing and things like that. It's really just kind of the stone outcroppings that lie above the waterfalls, hence why you have the waterfall safety sign. So we'll make sure that we don't go too far out onto the rocks trying to get our view.
During our exploration of the top of the falls, we actually found the observation deck, and so we initially did not see it, so we're gonna just kind of walk over there, and hopefully that gives us the front side of the view of the falls. So we're just kind of finding the trail over to the observation deck and see what we got over there. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be pretty cool. We have made it to the observation platform. From here you get a much better view of the falls, so I'm glad that we kind of looked around and stumbled upon this trail to get here, because it really wasn't marked very well. All right, we are all delayered. It's kind of chilly, so we're gonna get on the move and get up the hill back to our car. So if we take a look real quick, we have a deer right on our left. It's gonna probably be difficult to see, but it's right there. It has little tiny antlers on it, and it's just munching on the shrubbery. It definitely saw us because it was looking right at me when I saw it. Just kind of munching away. If I can get a better shot of it. There it is. Oh, it just looked at me again. Oh, now it's back to munching. And when we got here this morning, we saw about 5 or 6 deer right before we parked. But I don't see any more than just this one walking around. Doesn't really seem to be bothered by us at all. Now it's moving on along. On the hike out, I have a GPS watch, and it gave me a little like storm warning coming in, and so I'm not sure how bad it is, but it does look like the clouds are coming on in. So hopefully we can make it back to the car before the rain comes on in. We were looking at the forecast today. It wasn't supposed to rain maybe in the morning like 10% chance, and then it had 0% the rest of the day. But what we're finding out here in the park is that the weather is very unpredictable and it changes pretty fast. So if it does rain, we have enough, you know, stuff with us to stay dry. But we're hoping right now just to get back to the car before it starts raining.
We're back here at the start of the trailhead. We hiked just a hair over 2 miles. Comparing the falls that we did this morning, the Dark Hollow Falls with the Lewis Falls, I think that I like Dark Hollow a little bit better. Not as high in terms of distance for the waterfall, but being able to get up close to the falls, I think, makes a big difference versus just viewing it from a platform. You get to hear the sounds a little bit more and maybe even a little splash of the falls as they come down. So time to take off of our gear and then grab some lunch. Our next hike up is the Pocosin Mission, or I should say the ruins of the mission. There's also a small cabin, it looks like, on the map that we're gonna pass. To get to this trailhead, it's a little bit hard to find. It's a fire road that you have to drive down a little bit. It does say no parking on the fire road, but once you're on the road, there's about 4, maybe 5 gravel parking spots that you can snag to do your trail. If the spots are taken, then I think you're probably out of luck. But let's go hit the trail.
One of the cool things about hiking over here in Shenandoah National Park is that we cross a lot of the Appalachian Trail. And so on this trail, it's no different. We're coming through and we're just bypassing the Appalachian Trail, cuts right across. So we stopped, took some pictures by the markers and things like that. And then now we are gonna resume our journey to the, what is it, the cabin? Mm-hmm. To the first of the cabin and then go to the mission. We have made it to the cabin. There's somebody else up here, so I'm not sure if it's rented out or not, but we're just gonna swing by it and just get a look at it, and then head on out. It looked like when we got up closer, it looked like the cabin was rented. All the windows were open. They're normally like all closed off and locked off, so we don't want to get too close and disturb them. So we just got some far shots from it, but it'd be a pretty cool place to camp if you were able to you know, come out here for a couple nights and get a reservation. It would be pretty nice out here, especially this time of year. It's pretty deserted, and so you'd have it all to yourselves.
And you're only about 0.2 from the parking area, so you wouldn't have far to trek to haul all of your gear and stuff in with you, depending on how many nights you're here. So that would be something a little bit different from the Corbin cabin, which is a much longer hike with all of your gear.
This is pretty much just a fire road out to the mission. So with all this rain that we've had in the last couple of days, I mean, the road is really muddy. Hopefully, you know, we can stay out of the mud and not get too wet.
trail is a nice gradual decline, and since we are walking on a fire road, it's pretty even keel as well. Not too many rocks and things like that that we have to try to watch our footing on, like we had on the last trail, especially the Lewis Trail. That one is the one that, if there was a trailhead sign, should say steep and rocky, because it definitely was rocky. Parts of the trail are a little narrow, so we are single tracking it right now. We were walking side by side, but I kept pushing Derek off the road up into the hill. So we are now one by one.
We're coming up to another trail marker here. We should be just about at the mission right now. So we'll see what this trail marker says, and then hopefully we'll be able to see it. And Kelly just pointed right over there, and we can see it. It looks like a old, very old, I should say, mission. So we'll give you a look here in just a minute.
I don't have much information on the ruins here. I do know that it was built in 1904. It was an Episcopal minister who was trying to bring Christianity to the mountain people. One of the quotes I read said, "A brave Episcopal minister trying to save the souls of the mountain people." If we had to take a guess what the two different buildings are, we believe that this may have been where he would have lived. Looks like there's a rusted metal sink possibly outside, and then things hanging outside, just give it more of a homey feel. And then the other building had a large stone column that had fallen over, probably a chimney, but maybe a column that, you know, at one time a church bell or something had been in. Probably completely making that up. That might not have been the mission itself, but that is what we are envisioning these two pieces were. The other piece of note that I had for this area was that there was an old cemetery across from the mission, but the headstones are pretty much worn so that you can't see anything anymore. We're going to see if we can find it. It says it's supposed to be across from the mission on the other side of the trail, but not sure how much we'll be able to see with all of the leaf cover, especially if the headstones are pretty worn down and not very big. But we'll attempt to find it, and if not, then we're heading back.
The area behind me definitely looks like the old cemetery there with the gravestones, and so those gravestones are certainly old. There's really nothing on them anymore other than just signify where someone was buried. All right, off we go, back to the car.
It's always better to shed layers before you start going uphill, but I'm stubborn sometimes, so I shed them now. With our exploring, we ended up doing 2.48 miles on this trip. I enjoyed getting to see the old ruins and just getting a little bit more of the history of this park. I think some of those things, you know, are pretty fascinating when you think about some of the different hardships and struggles that people went through in different times other than ours. But just to recap for our day, we had the 2 waterfalls and then this hike. I think of all the hikes that we did, probably the Dark Hollow Falls, the first one, would be my favorite just because we got to get so up close to the falls. And then I would rank this one as second just because there were 3 different things that we got to look at and explore down there. 4 if you count the cabin that we couldn't really explore, but 3 items down at the bottom of the trail. I like to call this my overlook jacket. We've got about 4 or 5 overlooks that we're going to just kind of breeze through on our way back home, and then we'll call it a night. See you on the next adventure.